We are going to present you our neighborhood Laeken. We decide to show the development of Laeken in history with a special focus on the Industrial Revolution. In the Middle Ages, Laeken was only a small village in the countryside. It was outside the city of Brussels and wasn't a part of it. There were just some houses, a church and a castle, the Drottbig Castle, which later became our school. In the 17th century, the parish church of Laeken became a famous place of pilgrimage because of its miraculous healing. A lot of people, including aristocrats, came to Laeken via the Allée Verte along the canal. In the end of the 18th century, the Austrian governors in Belgium built the Schoonberg Castle in Laeken, which was the ancestor of a royal palace.
In 1865, Leopold II became King of Belgium. He was very ambitious and made Belgium the second economic power in the world. He lived in Laeken and wanted to develop it too. His motto was, "Laeken must become for Brussels what l'Arc de l'Étoile is for Paris, a place where big boulevards meet." Everybody contradicted him except the mayor of Laeken, Emile Boxtel, and his secretary, Louis Houbat. They were responsible for the development of Laeken. Today, we still have the Emile Boxtel Boulevard and the Houbat Avenue in their memory. The most important period in the history of Laeken is probably the Industrial Revolution of the 19th and 20th centuries, because the city changed dramatically at that time. Between 1850 and 1900, the population of Laeken went up from 4,000 to 30,000 people.
But now let's go back in time a little. In the 16th century, the Wilbur Canal was built. It connects Brussels to the river Escaut in the north, and then to the sea. And of course, it flowed through Laeken. Soon it became the most important waterway in Belgium. Thanks to the canal, the importation and exportation of goods was easier, and a lot of industry developed on its banks. A symbol of the maritime trade in Laeken is the port of Brussels. Tons of goods went through this port during the Industrial Revolution. It was the most important place in the business sector at the time, and is still in activity today. In 1834, the first train station of the European continent was born. It was in Laeken in the Allée Verte. It was part of the first railway that connected Brussels to Malines.
The site of Tour et Taxi was also very important for the Industrial Revolution. A huge building was built there from 1903 to 1907. It was a depot and a railway station. Goods arrived there by train from all over the country and then went to the port for their exportation and vice versa. 1,400 wagons went through the station every day and 3,000 people worked there. With the industrial development of Laeken in the 19th and 20th centuries, a lot of people came to work and lived there, so a lot of new buildings and houses were built at that time. There were two types of buildings: big bourgeois houses for company owners and employees with high salaries, and small houses or flats for the workers. Famous architects came to Laeken to build houses, and they were influenced by the two main architectural styles of the time, Art Nouveau and Art Déco.
There is a big difference between Art Nouveau and Art Déco. Art Nouveau starts in the 20th century. It comes with a change of centuries in reaction to the Industrial Revolution, which transforms Europe into an industrial society. The characteristics of Art Nouveau are curves, asymmetry, flowers, plants, etc. In other words, it's natural. We can also feel the nature in the materials that Art Nouveau uses: wood, brick, iron. This art shows the emotions and sensuality. The facades are often decorated with ceramic tiles, sculpture, or the more original and typically Belgian technique of the graffiti. Again, we can see the nature and sensuality. If we have to remember Art Nouveau in just one word, that will be colorful. And now, let's talk about Art Deco. Art Deco is the art of crazy years. It succeeds to Art Nouveau. It's like the opposite of Art Nouveau, or a modern evolution of it. The characteristics of this art are symmetry and sobriety. It is the art of angles and circles. It's the art of science, of big discoveries. It mainly uses a new material, concrete. If we have to remember this art in just one word, that will be modernity. Art Deco is present in two kinds of buildings, for rich people and for workers. The Art Deco houses for the rich are unique. You will not see two houses with the same architecture. And the houses for workers are all the same. Those houses were built for big masses of people.
Now I'm going to talk about the working class houses. Most of those houses were located in small dead-end side streets called impasses. Those narrow streets were usually very dark and dirty. In Laeken, there were 6 impasses, but 3 of them disappeared. The 3 impasses that still exist today are the impasse des Usines, the impasse of Leopold Street, and the impasse of Maud Weilburg Street. At the beginning of the 20th century, the government started to help the poor, and that's why they built a lot of social housing. Some of those buildings were built by famous architects too, and they used the Art Deco style. There are very nice examples of that in the Emile Delvaux Street.